Hello, fellow fools, and welcome to your timeless pick a pile reading. My name is Bren. I use they, them pronouns, and I will be guiding you through this magical tarot experience. Now, this is a timeless reading. However, I am recording this at the time of the Libra New Moon. And so the messages here are going to be informed a little bit by that energy. There is a lot of astrological energy that's also happening right now. Tonight we're entering Scorpio season, so we're having like a whole big shift from the light cardinal air of Libra and entering into the fixed water sign of Scorpio. Intense, mysterious, investigative. So when we combine these energies, Libra, like starting things, like we want to merge with people, we want to be diplomatic, we want to have balanced relationships. And with Scorpio knows also to have secure relationships, you have to have emotional security, and you need to know the truths about things. And also certain relationships require some secrets to be kept. Not all information is for everyone. So that's something to keep in mind during this time. So we are going to start with just a collective reading, and then you will have an opportunity to pick a pile of what specifically reading you want to investigate today. You can listen to both if that is resonating with you as well. So without further ado, we're going to talk a little bit about the new moon in Libra. So the mantra of this is a new romantic cycle begins. Libra is a lot about love. And something I also want to make sure we understand is like romance is something we can find without another person, like just romanticizing life, for example. But also, we have relationships with a lot of different things. Yes, we have relationships with other people, and yes, they can be romantic relationships, but we also have relationships with, your family, but you also have relationships with your hobbies, with the items that you have in your home, for example. So we have relationships with everything. So now is a great time to call into balance. Like, what needs to be balanced within my relationship with literally anything? That is what we're undergoing right now. So this new moon feels a little differently. And what I've experienced for this new moon so far is it's a lot of endings, actually. It's closing cycles and stuff like that, which does make sense because yes, a new moon is about new beginnings. However, the moon also is at its darkest. It died. The moon is dying in order to be reborn into this new thing. So, a plant, for example, has to die to then create good compost for the soil for then a new seed to grow or a new plant to grow. So that's what we're also being invited to just think about at this time is like what needs to be composted in our lives in order to make room for something new to come, because new beginnings are here. I also have this card from, I forget what this deck is called, so I'll try to look that up if I remember and put it in the show notes, but it does talk about Libra, and I do want to just talk about this sign. I do want to read it too because I found it insightful for this specific new moon for myself, so I will share it with you as well. It says, Libra, diplomatic, intelligent, and social, Libras are all about balance. Represented by the scales and ruled by Venus, they prefer steady relationships that are full of shared experiences. They take their partnerships to the next level of seriousness and expect the exact same in return. When they don't find a partner to offer the balance and mirroring they seek, they must undergo a great deal of self-discovery to understand who they are so they can attract healthier connections in the future. The reason why I really liked this is because in order to have a relationship with someone else, we also have to have a relationship with ourselves. The number one relationship that we're going to have with anyone in our lifetime is us. We are with ourselves that entire time. And that speaks really well with like the push and pull of like Libra and Aries, its sibling sign. They look at each other in the zodiac. So Aries being all about the self and independence, and Libra being about partnership and collaboration. So, we need both in order to have this balance. It's a scale. If one side is you and the other scale is someone else or something, you have to make sure that you're also advocating for yourself and making sure that your side of things are balanced in order to have a healthy connection with other people. So knowing thyself, it is an art, and it is really important to have healthy relationships, because that's sometimes we enter relationships because our subconscious is driven to something there that's actually not healthy for us, or maybe we are trying to find someone else to fill certain emptiness that we have in ourselves without actually communicating that with the other person. First of all, knowing that with ourselves, but also, it can be messy and complicated. So that's why sometimes our best teachers are the worst people in our lives, because it really helps us realize like who we don't want to be, and also like how to set boundaries. Because for any for any stable, secure, long-term relationship, we need to have boundaries and rules and commitments with the people in our lives, or whatever we're having a relationship with. So this is explained really well by Saturn having its exaltation in Libra. Saturn being that planet of structure, rules, boundaries. It likes being in Libra because Libra likes commitment. So it's like, well, what are the rules? What's the container of this relationship? So we can follow it and make sure that we have that balance between us. So keep that in mind and really evaluate. And maybe you'll want to look in your chart too. If you are familiar with your astrological birth chart, look at where Libra is in your chart. And, if it's in a certain house, say it's in the 10th house of career, then you're really going to want to find this balance within your career or your legacy, or how people see you in the big picture. But also if you have Libra, let's say in the first house of yourself, you're going to really want to you're always going through this balance of self versus others, but you're really going to want to evaluate, like, where have I been people pleasing too much, or compromising before anyone else even has an opportunity to know that I'm compromising. Definitely state what you need, state what you want first, and then compromise in communication, rather than just compromising internally before even saying anything, because you think that you'll be rejected by them, the other person, or whatever. Don't reject yourself first. We often do this, with the example I just explained. It's like, oh, I don't want to ask out that person or whatever because I'm afraid they're going to just say no. It's like, you know what you just did? You rejected yourself first. You rejected yourself because you're scared that they're going to reject you. So it's easier for you to just be like, I'm going to reject it first. So this is a call to just keep that in balance. Like sometimes, it's not an appropriate time to take action, sure, but just notice the ways that you're rejecting yourself before anyone else has an opportunity to, and really evaluate if that's protecting you or if that's just keeping you from what you desire. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce both of these groups to you for the cards. We have this Naipes playing card deck. It is from Spain. It is a playing card deck, but I always read, I don't always, but I often read playing cards as tarot. So this is going to be our makeshift tarot deck for today. It does not contain any major arcana. This is all going to be minor arcana. But if you want this deck, the Naipes quote unquote tarot deck for today, playing card deck, that is associated also with the Pyrite. I really love Pyrite. This piece of Pyrite specifically is a family, I don't want to say heirloom because it's not an heirloom, but it's been in my family since my childhood at least. So it has a lot of familial rooted secure energy. And if that's resonating with you, you're going to pick pile number 1, which is the Naipes Pyrite deck. Okay. Then we also have this Peacock ore. This is going to be our oracle deck as well. This is called the 24. It is a Reiki deck. And it is also actually a familial deck. My lovely Aunt Roseanne gifted this to me for my birthday, or maybe it was Christmas a few years ago. But this is it was 2023 that my aunt gave this to me. But yeah, this is the 24 Reiki deck. So this is going to be more of an intuitive. I mean, all the messages that I give you are intuitive, okay? But this is going to be less structured because, the tarot, or at least playing cards, they have a historical backdrop, and oracle decks are more anything else. So Peacock ore as well. This is a really beautiful stone. It is a big, heavy one too, but It's, you know, very colorful, and it has like different metal. It's just like a rainbow, you know. And if I thinking about peacocks, it's very flamboyant, and it's not afraid to shine. And I'm like shimmying. It's not afraid to express itself, and that's actually how it attracts what it wants. So this is a very Libra energy stone, and I think I actually got this during a Libra season like a few years ago. And whenever I get something, like I actually got this Naipes deck literally 2 days ago. So I like to think that it's infused with whatever energy was in the sky when I got it. So this would be like a new moon Libra deck as well. So a lot of Libra energy. So without further ado, we are going to start with pile number 1, which is the Naipes deck and the Pyrite. So let's see what the cards have in store for you. And if you have a specific question or something on your mind, I would keep that at the forefront while this process is happening, because yeah, at least right now, I'm being called by Spirit to just, get a little bit more specific. So if you have something in mind, or like you have a certain relationship that you want answers about, and again, relationships are not just with people. It can be your relationship with a hobby, a relationship with, you know, your car, you know, whatever it is. You can think of that, and that's what this will be answering. So we have the 2 of Swords, the 12 of Cups. That's hilarious. The 12 of Cups, that's the King of Cups. And in this deck specifically, it doesn't actually have any like feminine royalty, which I roll my eyes at, because I'm going to read this as both like a king and a queen. They're mixed, you know. You can't have one without the other, in my opinion. And then we also have the 10 of Swords reversed. Okay, so we've got a lot of Swords energy, and this is the 2 of Swords. Okay. So, I mean, the 2 of Swords as well is a Libra card. It's specifically a Libra Moon card. And traditionally, in the traditional tarot, there's like a feminine figure usually sitting in sitting in a chair or something, blindfolded, holding 2 swords like this, okay? And closing their eyes, or they're blindfolded. So I love that a Libra card came out here. It just seems like indecisiveness is a theme here. But I also like to see this card as like being patient, because you're still gathering all the information. Like you're going inward, you're meditating on the information that you have. And then once you know, you'll know when you know. And that's when you can then break free and then like start using these swords, or one or the other if you need to make a choice. Because the wisdom of Libra is that everyone's side is valid, you know? And so like, for example, if you have 2 friends that are fighting, right? And you're kind of in between, and you're hearing the perspective from one person, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I understand why you would feel that way, blah, 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 blah. And then if you don't listen to the other friend, you might side with that one friend that you heard first, because you only heard one story, right? But the Libra knows that there's 2 sides to every story. There's more information. So, you know, if you're wanting to be a mediator in this, I guess you would also want to ask your other friend, okay, hey, I heard that stuff happened, like what's going on? And then they share their perspective with you. And it could be completely different from the friend number 1, but it could also be true. You know, 2 opposing things could actually be true at the same time. And that's something that Libra is constantly balancing. So this is just a time of evaluating, like, first of all, knowing that you might not have all the information yet. So keep doing your investigation. Again, that's the Scorpio also coming in, like, let's investigate. But also, just knowing that there's a duality, like sometimes 2 opposite things are right, or they make sense. And it's disturbing sometimes, because it's like, well, how do you find resolution in 2 opposing things, you know? So that's what the 2 of Swords is saying to me at this time. And then we do have this, you know, royal figure with the cups. And King of Cups specifically for me is very much a Saturn Pisces card. And I have a natal Saturn Pisces, and right now Saturn is in Pisces, retrograding again, finishing its last cycle here before it permanently leaves sometime next year, I believe in February of 2026. So this is, you know, a time of holding, like, cups is about your emotions, right? But a king, or like a royal figure, I should say, like king or queen, not only are they holding their own emotions, but they're holding the emotions of the kingdom, right? And they're balancing, especially with that Two of Swords too, like trying to see, like, okay, what are my needs as this, leader in emotional things, but then also what are the needs of the people around me, the people or the things that I have relationships with. So this can be hard too, because a king, and I keep saying king, I guess it's going to be king. I think maybe it is a king of cups, but, having compassion, it's really important, and listening to people and all that stuff. But also your cup is sacred. You have the royal cup, and if you're draining your emotional energy, or if you're draining your emotional energy towards people or over compromising, kind of like I was saying earlier, then your cup's going to be empty, and then you have nothing to give. And not only are you starving, or like, you're not getting your needs met, the whole kingdom also will not be able to get their needs met. So I'm really seeing this as like that sacred art of balance and knowing what you emotionally need and how to hold that, especially with other people who might not have as much emotional intelligence as you. I see this a lot with, people who have emotionally immature parents, for example. They have to step into this role a lot of the time and be the bigger person, even though it can be really frustrating because you don't feel like you're being met with the same compassion or the same type of emotional knowledge, or wisdom. So and it is upright. So I'm really seeing this as like, you hold your cup of emotions. You hold the power here. This is a very powerful card. I'm really feeling that. So if you're the one who's holding the power in these emotional connections that you have with other things, and you're not feeling emotionally satisfied with certain things, now's probably a time to shift. This is a Libra new moon, a new beginning for things. So maybe it's about cutting out old patterns. Like maybe, your mom always calls you to get chores done that she could do herself, or she just knows that you will do it because, you care and you want to help, but she's taking advantage of you without even knowing it, maybe. And so you might need to set a boundary like, hey, mom, I love helping you, and also now's not a good time. And if she's hurt by that, she might be hurt, but also you're taking care of yourself. And that's also giving her an opportunity to find independence as well, and be like, oh, well, if my kid can't provide this service for me or like help me, then I need to reach out into other people in my community, or find that drive within myself to do these things, or learn how to do it. Oh, I never learned how to mow the lawn. Will you please come mow the lawn for me? It's like, well, no, I'm not going to do that because you're not paying me, and you've asked me to do this literally all summer. I don't want to do that. But I'd be happy to teach you how to use a lawnmower so you can do it yourself. We don't want to be enablers. That is the biggest thing here. Don't be enabler. It's nice to help people, but is it kind? That's something that we're really balancing with the scales too. It's like, Libras are very pleasant. They like to be liked. They're people pleasers often, but yeah, there's a balance there. If you're over people pleasing, whatever. Yeah, it's just, it might be nice, but it's not the kind thing to do. It might be nice to ignore someone having spinach in their teeth, but the kind thing to do is like, hey babe, you have a little something in your teeth. Just want to look out for you. Because it's kind of awkward in the moment maybe to say that, but also, who has ever given you a hard time for that? And if they have, like, maybe you don't say it to that person. But anyway, I digress. We're going to go on to this third card, which is the 10 of Swords reversed. Now, the 10 of Swords is an intense card traditionally. This one actually looks a little bit more peaceful. I'll put it up right so you can kind of take a nice look. It almost looks like a Page of Swords, to be honest. So it's reversed. But the traditional 10 of Swords is someone who, it's like someone face down in the ground, and they have like 10 swords stabbed in their back. It's like overkill. It's like, okay, this is done. We've beaten this with a dead horse. It's over. And again, when we're talking about swords, that's our mind, our communication, thoughts, things like that. So what I believe, with all of that said, it seems like this new moon is time to put something to rest for good. Like put something, like it's been beaten by a dead horse, or like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's dead. It's been dead. So there's no need to stick another sword in that. It's like, that person's dead. Like we get it, you know, it's overkill, you know? So there's certain maybe thoughts. It did come in reverse. So I am seeing this as more of an internal process rather than an external. So maybe it's time for you to put your mind to rest more. Now would be a really great time to meditate if you are someone who meditates. And even if you don't, finding ways to get into maybe even a flow state, which is like a type of meditation. So if you really are like doing a puzzle, for example, and you really are in it, you know, that is meditation of a sort. You know, you're very focused on activity. And, you know, then it's also not like not everyone is equipped to just sit there and to meditate. You know, this is about finding what works for you and learning, because this does look like a page of swords too. So this is about learning about you and what works for you, because not things that work for other people might not work for you. And so this is a good time to evaluate that and go inward. 10-10 is also, well, you're a 10 out of 10. So have confidence too that you are where you need to be and going on your path. But 10 out of 10 or 10-10 is also like a patience card for me. So this is also about being really patient with yourself, slowing down, especially the mind. You don't need to be problem solving all of these problems that don't even exist yet. You know, that's overkill. That's the thing, that like you're beating something with a dead horse. Like, and maybe even this topic that you were thinking about before this reading happened, you were like, you've already been going through this thing. Like you've already been thinking about it forever, or this has been something you've been working through already for a while. It's like, when is it going to be done? You know, I'm kind of thinking of an artist who just can't finish an art piece because it's not perfect. It's just not quite right yet. It's not quite right. And I think there's a beauty in that too. But at the end, like this card is saying it's time to finish the art piece. It's okay that it's not perfect, and it's okay that it's not complete maybe in your eyes, but it's keeping you from like receiving these new things. It's keeping you from making a new art piece. Like you're literally driving yourself insane by over focusing on whatever this thing is. So it's time to like scrap it, or like publish it, or like finish it, whatever it is, or even just put it aside for a while to start something new, you know, because maybe, you know, you're creating this art piece. It's like just not going right. You start a new art piece, and then you come back to that old art piece and you're like, I totally understand what this needs now, you know? So it's okay to be patient and step away from things. And it's okay for things to not be your idea of perfect, because, and this is my personal beef with the universe sometimes, it's like, you know, I'm very Pisces. I'm very much like, I just want the fantasy to be real. Like, why can't real life be as good as what's in my mind, you know? So this is about surrendering that and just being like, you know what? Nothing's ever going to be that perfect fantasy in my head. But you know what? There's a lot of things that can come pretty dang close. And I need to appreciate those things and focus more of my energy on what I do have rather than what I don't. And again, we are entering Scorpio season, and one of the Scorpio cards is the 5 of Cups. The 5 of Cups has been coming up collectively for a lot of people, which is the reason why I'm bringing it up. It's very much the card about like crying over spilt milk. This is about like crying over what you don't have and like mourning over what you don't have rather than what you do. And so you're so focused on what you don't have, there's a risk that you knock over or like ruin what you do have, or like you don't even see it. So it's like, it's basically like it wasn't even there. You know, so now is a really good time to break these cycles, especially emotionally, especially within your thought patterns of, you know, I'm noticing myself spiraling. Like I'm just tired of that. I'm not going to do that anymore. Like whatever happens, happens. I just have to trust that I'm safe. I have to trust that I'm protected. I have to trust that things are happening in my highest favor and for my highest good. And, you know, especially when there's like a lot of really like there's just a lot of darkness in this world, you know, and it's really hard to sometimes, because this is all about balance again. Like, yes, there's darkness and there's also light, and if we're so like humans are so ingrained to focus on the negative, because that does protect us, that is something that helps us survive, but also, if you're so always stuck in the darkness and all the negativity and all that stuff, it will consume you. And then that is actually bringing you out of balance because, you know, and it's going to be harder to get out of that because the deeper you go, the harder it is to get that to rebalance and like find the optimism and the light in things. So, and you know, I say this often, but this is so, so true. At the end of the day, you live in your mind. And if your mind is not a safe place to be, and if it's not a pleasant place to be, you're not going to have a pleasant human experience. You're not going to have a pleasant life. So knowing that you're the only one who can control your mind, you know, that should be empowering for you. It really should, being like, you know what? I need to commit to myself and cut off things that, or like mind patterns that are not helping me anymore. Maybe you're like scrolling the news way too much. And it's like, you know what? I don't even know if this news source is real. Like, I don't even know if this is true because there's propaganda everywhere on all sides. So keep that in mind. We are always being influenced by something. And so just keep that in mind. And we all have our personal biases as well. So if you need to take a step back, that's fine. Maybe you step into your community. Like I just, now is a really great time for everyone to focus what's right in front of them and what they're witnessing firsthand as well. Yes, the news is good, but like we can be so overwhelmed by everything going on all over the world. And that is what can help. That's what contributes a lot to us being dragged down into negativity, into hopelessness, things like that. So we want to really prevent that. Again, we want to be realistic and keep that in mind for sure. We don't want to close a blind eye to that because that is, again, not balanced either. But we don't want all of these things to be pulling us down so much in a way that we feel helpless and we feel like we can't get out. So because we are strong as a collective, we are strong, you know, again, Libra is a relationship sign. We need to strengthen our relationships with ourselves and therefore other people in order for us to find that balance and find security. You know, and again, we're entering Scorpio season, all about that emotional security. Who is offering you emotional security? Who's not? Who do you need to have boundaries with? Who do you need to lean on? Who do you know? You know, there's a lot of change going on. So just trying to stay as grounded as possible in what's right in front of you instead of like all of these ideas that people are throwing at you through social media or whatever. It's like, you know, I'll share a personal experience too. I, as a trans person, I get insecure a lot of the time, like going out, you know, there's a lot of trans hate, for example, in the US where I live. And I get scared that I might get hate crimed or someone might say something about my appearance or whatever. And because of what I hear online and stuff like that. And also like, I'm very fearful of all that stuff. And there have been very real circumstances where I have been, I've been threatened because of my identity. Yes. However, I also am really lucky to live in a place where actually a lot of people are very accepting of trans people. And so like, you know, it's been really hard for me to come out and, you know, be who I am because of fear, because of what I see online and like the stories that I hear and like even my own personal experience, but also on my day to day, most of the time, the people that I'm interacting with are super cool and understanding about transness and willing to learn, or at least at the very least willing to respect my name and pronouns, you know, for the most part. I mean, you know, I know it's hard. It's a whole nother thing, but I just want to share that to tell you that like, yeah, be more focused on what's actually happening in front of you rather than all the stories that you're hearing. Okay. So that will close out pile number 1's reading. Thank you all so much for being here. I do personal readings as well. I am a professional astrologer and tarot reader. So if you are in Denver, Colorado, that's where I conduct my readings at Confia Collective. You can book with me at fortuneofthefool.com, and that will be linked in the show notes. And if you don't live in Denver and you still want a reading from me, message me and we'll see if we can do something virtual as well. Okay. Thanks, y'all. Hope to see you soon. Please also like and subscribe if you like this, because that helps other people who need to hear these messages receive them. So, alrighty. We're going to move on to pile number 2. You are pile number 2 if you chose this Peacock Ore and the 24 Reiki deck. All right. You know, I have an interesting relationship with this deck. I don't use it that often, but it was a gift from my aunt, and so it's very special to me. And I do pull it often when I yeah, just want something like more of an intuitive message. Oh, and these are all reversed, I guess. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to take it. Oh, I guess they're all upside down. Well, you know what? This is going to be I think the Spirit's saying that it was on purpose that happened. So we're going to just roll with it, okay? So the first card we have, oh, this is my favorite card out of the whole deck, actually. It's Milestone. It is reversed, but I'll put it upright for you so you can take a look at it if you are wanting to look at it. Milestone. I received this card. This is one of my favorites because I received it like the day of my Saturn return. I drew a card from this deck and I was like, wow, thank you. Because, you know, your Saturn return, like, or I should just say, like, when you are being tested by the universe or like you're going through a lot of trials and tribulations. And also when I say universe, I'm just saying, like, if you believe in God, that's what I'm talking about. Like, universe is just an all-encompassing word for like spirit, for something greater than us, whatever that energy is that is beyond us, you know? So, yeah, this is saying that you've come a long way, and this is a time for inner acknowledgement as well. Like sometimes we seek validation externally, and that is okay too. Again, it's a very Libran thing to seek external validation. Oh, and I just smelled that the candle went out. So that is really interesting too. You know, it seems like it is a door. It's like, hey, you've come a long way. It's time to close a certain door. It's time that we see how far we've come, be really appreciative. I'm seeing this as like, you know, your childhood home. It's like there's going to come a day where you're going to have to leave. You're going to move. You graduate from childhood. You're not, I mean, I guess you could live with your parents forever if you want, but like, you know, usually at least you move at least once in your life. A lot of people do anyway. Even if it's temporary, whatever. But this just is really seeing like, wow, you can have nostalgia for where you were, and just like to kind of see it with a sweetness, because it's like, wow, all those obstacles that I've been through, that's what prepared me for now. And I'm seeing that there's like a little issue with the, yeah, I just don't want the sun to get the camera because it makes it a little foggy and hazy. So hopefully that helps. But, yes. So now's a great time to pat yourself on the back. I am seeing this also as like the 8 of Pentacles. If you are familiar with tarot, it's like this person diligently working. It's like an apprenticeship card. So someone who is putting in a lot of work. They're not a beginner, definitely not, but they're also not quite a master yet, because, you know, I mean, you can be really good at something, but there's always going to be improvement to be made. So that kind of comes back to that perfectionist, like, I don't know if I said that in the beginning or in pile number 1. So my apologies if these messages are a little confuddled, but you know, that art piece that you've been working on, that you're just like, it's not quite perfect yet. It's not quite perfect yet. It's like, it's time to close the door on it, you know, give it space. It's time to just be grateful for what that thing in your life was, for what it was. And now it's time to move on. You know, this new moon is a lot about death. Like I haven't felt a new moon like this in a long time. That's really like, yes, it's a new beginning, but what is the fodder? What is the compost again? What is the nutrient soil that you're putting it in? Because you don't have enough room for it all. You don't have room to keep the skeletons and the new bodies as well. Spirit, come on now. Sometimes what comes through is insane. Okay, so then we also have the alignment card. And again, these are all reversed. So this is an inward alignment, which again, this is Libra talking about calling things into balance. If you are in relationships that don't feel reciprocal, now is the time. It's up to you. You have to be the one to bring that back into alignment. No one can do that for you except for you. And I mean, like in relationships, hopefully you also have people in your life who you can bounce ideas off of, and you know, hopefully you're in relationships that are reciprocal, and for the most part you can figure things out as a team. But this is also kind of saying like there's also certain things that you can't work out as a team. You have to show up as the leader in certain things. So yeah, sometimes people are not going to meet you where you're at. Sometimes you grow apart from people, you know, sometimes like someone who you thought was super close with you is now just, people change, times change, circumstances change. And it might not even be that that person is so different that you don't want to hang out with them anymore. It's just like, they just don't have time. They don't have as much time to invest in you anymore. And that might hurt your feelings or whatever, but it's just like, that's just how things roll. Sometimes people have kids, people get jobs, people have responsibilities, life changes. So try not to take some of those things personally, because at the end of the day, people are just trying to do their best for the most part. And hopefully the people that you're around are just trying to do their best. And if you are also noticing that someone in your life who you really love is not doing their best, now might be a time to, again, balance those scales, bring it to their attention. And that's choosing kindness over niceness. Okay? Choosing kindness over niceness, because it might be nice to just be like, oh, I'm not going to say anything because that might hurt their feelings and I don't want to do that, But kindness is being a good friend and being like, yo, I don't feel like you're doing your best here. Like, I don't see you showing up in ways that you used to. And I don't really, recognize the person that you are anymore. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying this out of love and just like wanting the best for you, but also wanting this relationship to work. And like, because of how you're showing up now, this relationship's not working, And again, this can be a relationship with a person. Spirit speaks in metaphors. So you have to do the work to make this, fill in the blanks for your specific life. Okay. So milestone alignment. We have another card. Spark. Oh, I love it. It's a spark. The Aries in me. I'm an Aries moon and rising. And this is a very Aries card to me. It's that match. It's that spark. It's that excitement of like, what's next? So it seems like the more that you get into alignment, the more I'm seeing a story play out here. It's like, hey, we're closing doors and maybe like you've already come a long way. So reflect on that milestone, close any doors that are not serving you. Also, my friend Mia, oh my gosh, she told me something amazing the other day about doors and portals. Like when we're closing chapters, we're opening new ones. She told me that we have to be really protective over our doors, because then anything can come in or leave, so we really want to have like some sort of energetic protection or some sort of protection for like whatever path or whatever door we're also opening to enter. We want to make sure that nothing toxic can enter. And that's why we want to make sure we're in alignment with the people and things in our life and the relationships that we have, because that will help make sure that the portals and those doors that are opening for us are in alignment, and like that they are, things can't enter that door that shouldn't be there. Like the past shouldn't be entering the door of the future. You know what I mean? The past needs to be in the past. That's why it's really important to know how far you've come, close that door. Okay. Be alignment. And then the spark, it's like, okay, so once you close those doors and then you're in alignment to make sure that your new doors that are opening are secure in ways that are in alignment with you and like feel good and seem good for you, then you can have the spark of inspiration. I feel like for this group in particular, there is a specific purpose that will be coming for each of you very soon. You might already know this. It's just like whatever lights your fire. It's like, we all are unique beings and we all have a unique purpose on this earth. And so it's up to you to find that within yourself. You have to know what lights your inner spark. This is about you not living for other people, because sometimes we want to follow someone else's dream or someone else's, especially like parents, for example. It's like, oh, you need to be a doctor. So then you go to med school or whatever. And you're like, why am I here? I hate this. That's going to dim your spark. You need to choose you, because by choosing you, you actually choose others. This is something that I feel like people don't understand that much, because they're like, well, that's just being selfish. And there's a certain amount of selfishness that actually is good for the collective, okay? If you're so selfish, you're not respecting other people or taking them into consideration, that's a whole nother thing. And yes, that's a problem. But if you're being selfish in a way that's like, you know what? I have my own destiny. I have my own things that light me up and give me passion. And I want to go for that, because you never know how much your passion might inspire someone else or help someone else. If you're so focused on someone else's or like something that doesn't make you passionate, you're doing things for other people, that's where you lose sight of yourself and like where success can fall through the cracks. It's like things will just stop working out because it's like there's just going to be more and more problems that arise, you know, because it's like it's not, you're not in alignment. If you're not feeling with your heart, if you're not feeling fire about what you're doing, you're not in alignment with that. You know, you need to be in a perspective of enjoying things more. And, you know, there's a lot of things in life that we have to do that we don't enjoy. Okay. But there are, again, we have limited, we have free will, and it can be limited by also what's fated or what our circumstances are, right? So this is about really using what free will you have to make the most of it. And, you know, I'm seeing it, it's a sparkler. It's like, what's gonna just like dazzle you? And also what dazzles you will then dazzle others, you know? So this is really about, it seems like for this group in particular, especially with all of the reversals, this is really about you. The way to find balance is to probably nurture yourself, because you've probably been overthinking about how to make other people happy and how to find balance externally rather than like really finding that within yourself. And I see this in myself too. Like I'm a reader, and like I feel like I will know exactly, like if I'm reading cards for someone else, I know, like it's so easy for me. It's like very natural. But if I'm reading for myself, that's a whole nother story. I get really confused because I'm too close to home, you know? And so that's where getting readings from other people is really nice. Again, we're like a network, and I'm, you know, yes, I'm a reader, and yes, I'm a teacher, but also in order for me to be a good teacher and to be a good reader, I also need to receive from other people. I also need to be a student. So this is kind of a call to you, you know, you're showing up a lot for people, it seems like right now, but who's showing up for you? And if it's not you, if you're not showing up for you, that needs to change real quick. Because life's moving fast. This year and next year, 2026, insane transformation. So like whenever you're hearing this again, it's this message is relevant, but change is the only constant in this life. And it can be very disruptive to our nervous systems because we find a lot of security with the status quo. Right? So this is about really finding security in yourself, finding security in the things that you can right now, and then surrendering to the rest, you know? Like, just remember that not everything is going to be the same always. You know, that's why we want to live in the moment and be appreciative for what we have rather than focus on what we don't. Because this is why a lot of times the good times pass people by, because they don't even know it's the good times until they leave. And then it's like, wow, I didn't even appreciate what I had because I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't listening. So this is the time for you to listen and notice the synchronicities that might be happening in your life. Maybe you know, I saw a dead dog in the road the other day. It was really sad. It was scarring, like literally the image. And it looked like a dog that I had. Sorry, I should have had a trigger warning. I'm sorry, but I mean, life and death. Sorry if you don't. This life is violent. This life is like that. So if you cannot deal with that, like, I don't know how you're going to deal with life, but anyway. But you know, like that was so loud for me. And it looked like, it almost looked like a dog that I used to have growing up. So it was very much a wake-up call, and I saw this dead dog, and it literally, I couldn't stop thinking about it for like, even since I saw it, like, I don't know, a week ago. I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, wow. So what the reason I'm telling you this is because like you need to be paying attention to these synchronicities, because these signs, spirit is giving you signs and helping you get into this alignment. But if you're not listening, you're going to miss the signs. So it will continuously, these signs will get louder and louder and louder until you can't ignore them anymore. And so the dead dog was a pretty loud message for me, right? About, you know, some things have to die. Also, like loyalty is symbolic of dogs. And so anyway, I don't need to get into the symbolism of like what I personally went through, I guess, with that. But it's just like, start paying attention, because again, the signs might be louder. If you're ignoring the signs, it's going to get worse. Or just more severe, or just more unpleasant, you know, from a human perspective. So, you know, for example, if you're like, say you have like a stomach problem and you keep ignoring it, you're like, oh, it's not a big deal, whatever. But then if you keep ignoring it over time, then you're gonna have bigger health issues, like an ulcer or something, or like you're gonna have to go get it taken care of by, you might even need surgery, you know? So whereas like if you had just gone to a doctor beforehand, it's like, oh, you have a gluten sensitivity or something. Like if you just to cut that out, you'll be fine. You know, that's way less severe than like the surgery part. You know what I mean? That's just one example of like how these things can come up. Okay. Any last messages, Spirit? Okay. Peacock ore. We've got to talk a little bit about this too. Spirit is like inviting you to shine a little bit more and not be like, honestly, putting yourself first more. Again, it's not selfish unless it's like really hurting other people to do what is good for you. You know, like going back to the doctor example, like your parents, they really want you to be a doctor and you're just like, oh my God, I do not want to be a doctor, but I do want to be a teacher, you know, whatever. And your parents might be disappointed or whatever, because it's like, well, your salary is not going to be very good and like blah, 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 blah. But you just know that you will love it. And you can also change a lot of lives by doing that. And by you being passionate about something, it's so much easier, like for me to light your candle if I have my sparks going. You know, if I have my sparkler going or whatever, I'm like, woohoo. And then you're in need, or someone else is in need of a little light. It's like, hey, I have my sparkler, it's going off, like, let's light your candle. You know, we already have this flame going, and then their flame's going, and then they can then do that to someone else. And then that's how we enact profound change over, you know, globally and like universally, even just by impacting one person, because you never know how you lighting one person's light could light millions, if not billions of other people's light. And I'm like getting emotional with that, because I think Spirit, especially like with the milestone thing here, it's like you've been doing so much work and you care so much about other people, and like this is your time to shine. You know, it's time for you to put yourself first if you haven't, because again, the more you shine, the more other people can shine too. So be your peacock era. Maybe you even dress up or like wear peacock colors, or even just do a little shimmy or something to just remind yourself, because peacocks are also dancers, right? They like to dance to attract their mate. And maybe this is also saying like, you know, don't chase. This is about attracting, you know, just as long as you have your ducks in a row and you are focusing on what is in alignment for you, opportunities are going to come to you without you even having to chase it, you know that. Yeah, you have to feed into it a little bit. Like, for example, if you want a new job, you have to send out applications maybe, but, you know, the perfect opportunity will then come, you know, for you. I'm feeling really a lot of excitement for you. Don't forget how far you've come. Don't forget how far you've worked to be where you are. And just do what it takes to be in alignment with you first. Because once you, like, you know, I said this earlier, like knowing thyself is an art. The more you know yourself, the more you understand everything else. And the more that you can actually have deeper relationships, because you're like, oh, this is what I need. And then you can actually ask for it, rather than like having this need, not being able to verbalize it, and then just feeling like bad about it because you're not getting that need met. But that person, how is that other person supposed to know? You know? So then that resentment builds, and then it's like, oh my gosh. So keep knowing yourself, keep investing in yourself, and your relationships will benefit for it. Okay? And your life. Yeah. So those are the messages that I have for you. Thank you so much for listening. Again, my name's Bren. I use they, them pronouns, and I am a professional astrologer and tarot reader. So if you are interested in getting a personal reading with me, either astrological, tarot, or both, please book with me at fortuneofthefool.com. I do readings in person here in Denver, Colorado. That's my favorite way to do readings, so we can share energies. But if you are not in Denver and still want a reading, we can sort that out. If you would like to request a reading on my website, again, www.fortuneofthefool.com. And please make sure you subscribe, like, and share if you benefited from these messages. I want to make sure that, yeah, people who need to hear these messages can receive them. So, all right, y'all, stay foolish. Happy new moon.